You've tried the vacations. You've tried the caffeine. You've even downloaded the sleep apps. But the heaviness is still there, sitting on your chest the moment you wake up, before you've even checked your phone. And here's the truth nobody's told you. This isn't physical fatigue. This is spiritual misalignment. No amount of sleep is going to fix a soul problem. You can sleep 8 hours a night and still wake up feeling like you're drowning because the exhaustion isn't in your body, it's in your spirit. Today, we're going to talk about why your burnout isn't a scheduling issue. It's a warning light on the dashboard of your soul. And just like a warning light in your car, you can ignore it for a while. You can put a piece of tape over it so you don't have to see it flashing. But the problem underneath doesn't go away just because you stopped looking at it. We're going to learn why reclaiming rest is the only way to finally hear God's voice above the noise of your hustle, and why silence, not sleep, might be the very thing your soul has been begging you for. Let's start at the very beginning in the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 2 verse 2 says, "By the seventh day God had finished the work he had been doing, so on the seventh day he rested from all his work." Stop and think about that for a second. The creator of the universe, the one who spoke galaxies into existence with a single word, rested. Not because he was tired. God doesn't get tired. Isaiah 40:28 reminds us that he never grows weary. So if God wasn't resting to recover, why did he rest at all? He rested to set a rhythm, a pattern for you and me to follow. 6 days of work, 1 day of stillness. This wasn't God taking a nap because he needed one. This was God modeling something for his children. It's like a father who already knows how to ride a bike, getting on one anyway just to show his son how it's done. God didn't need the rest. You do. And he built it into the very blueprint of the week before sin, before struggle, before burnout ever existed, because he knew exactly what you'd need thousands of years later. That's not a suggestion. It's not a nice idea for people who happen to have extra time or a flexible job. It's a law, built into the fabric of creation itself, the same way gravity is built into the fabric of physics. Think about that comparison for a second. You can ignore gravity if you want. You can tell yourself it doesn't apply to you today, but eventually you're going to fall. Sabbath works the exact same way. You can ignore it. You can push through. You can tell yourself you'll rest later, once the project is done, once the kids are older, once things calm down. But things never calm down on their own. And eventually your body and your spirit are going to force the issue whether you planned for it or not. That's what burnout is. It's not weakness. It's not failure. It's not a sign that you're bad at managing your time. It's your soul screaming out for something you've refused to give it. Think about the story of Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19. This was a man who had just experienced one of the greatest spiritual victories in the Old Testament. He'd called down fire from heaven. He'd defeated 400 prophets of Baal. And right after that mountaintop moment, what do we see him doing? Running into the wilderness, sitting under a tree, and asking God to let him die. Even the strongest men of faith aren't exempt from burnout. In fact, sometimes it hits hardest right after the victories, when you finally stop moving long enough to feel how depleted you actually are. Now let's talk about why we ignore it in the first place. Somewhere along the way, busyness became a badge of honor. "I'm so slammed" became a flex we say at dinner tables and in group chats. "I haven't had a day off in weeks" became something we say with pride instead of shame, like exhaustion itself was proof of our value. We've built an entire culture where rest feels like an excuse and hustle feels like a virtue. But here's the hard truth the world will never tell you. That kind of striving isn't just unhealthy, it's a form of idolatry. Because when you refuse to stop, what you're really saying underneath it all is, "I don't trust God to hold things together without me." You're saying the world depends on your effort, not his grace. You're saying if you take your hands off the wheel for even 1 day, everything falls apart. That's not faith. That's fear wearing a work ethic as a disguise. And it's exhausting to carry a weight that was never yours to carry in the first place. Psalm 127 verse 2 says, "In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves." Did you catch that? Rest isn't something you have to earn through exhaustion. It's something God grants to the people he loves. Exodus 28 doesn't say consider the Sabbath. It says remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Remember it, like it's easy to forget, like the noise of life will try to erase it if you let it. And isn't that exactly what's happening to you right now? Every notification, every deadline, every urgent email that could have waited until Monday. All of it is noise, drowning out a still small voice that's been trying to speak to you for a long time. Even back in the wilderness, when God provided manna for the Israelites in Exodus chapter 16, He told them not to gather any on the seventh day. He'd already provided double the day before. In other words, God was teaching them, and teaching us, that rest requires trust. You have to believe that what God has already provided is enough, even when your instinct is to keep gathering, keep grinding, keep making sure you have enough on your own. 1 Kings 19:12 tells us God wasn't in the wind, He wasn't in the earthquake, He wasn't in the fire, He was in the gentle whisper. But you cannot hear a whisper in a hurricane, and your life right now might be a hurricane. Notice that God didn't rebuke Elijah for being tired. He didn't tell him to push through and get back to work. He let him sleep. He fed him. And only after Elijah had rested did God speak to him in that whisper. Sometimes the reason you can't hear from God isn't because He's silent, it's because you're too loud. So, what do you do with all of this? You don't need another productivity hack. You don't need a better morning routine or a new app to track your sleep. You need to silence the noise. You need to actually stop, not just physically but mentally. Even Jesus, the Son of God Himself, regularly withdrew from the crowds. Luke 5:16 says, "But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed." If the Son of God needed to withdraw, what makes you think you don't? Turn off the phone. Sit in the quiet, even if it feels uncomfortable at first, because it will feel uncomfortable. Silence has a way of exposing everything we've been running from. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Notice the order of that verse. Stillness comes first. Knowing comes second. You can't know Him deeply while you're sprinting past Him every single day. You can read your Bible in the car on the way to work. You can pray a quick prayer between meetings. But there's a different level of intimacy that only comes when you actually stop long enough to be present with Him. Matthew 11:28 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Not a to-do list, not a 5-step plan, not a productivity system. Rest. Jesus isn't asking you to work harder for peace. He's asking you to stop long enough to receive it. That's the part we struggle with the most, isn't it? We're so used to earning everything that when God offers us something for free, we don't know what to do with it. We keep striving for a gift that was already ours the moment we stopped long enough to take it. So here's your challenge this week. Pick one day, just one, and treat it as holy. No hustle, no striving, no proving your worth through productivity. Just presence. Turn off the notifications. Sit outside if you can. Read a psalm slowly instead of rushing through your whole devotional plan. Let yourself feel bored for a minute, because in that boredom, God might finally have room to speak. Because your burnout was never asking you to sleep more. It was asking you to trust more. And trust starts the moment you finally stop. If this spoke to you, drop a comment and tell me. When's the last time you actually rested on purpose without guilt? And if you know someone running on empty right now, someone who's been pushing through for far too long, send them this video. It might be the whisper they've been too busy to hear. Don't forget to subscribe for more truth that meets you right where you are, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the exhaustion, right where God is already waiting for you to stop. Until next time, be still and let Him be God.